All right, hello. Today I want to go over persuasive writing with you. So let's get started. The first thing you need to remember when you write a persuasive essay is that you are trying to persuade. And that means you are trying to do one of two things. You are trying to get someone to do something, and you do this by, asking, arguing, and of course, giving reasons, or you're trying to get someone to believe something. Okay, so to do something or to believe something. Now, in order to persuade, you must take a side. You cannot ride the fence. You must decide, are you for or against a position? You can't be both. And then you have to convince your reader to believe or do whichever side you're taking. Now, there are three main parts to a persuasive essay. With just like any essay, really, you have the introduction, and this is where you're getting your audience interested in your topic. And so, we've talked about the 5 types of leads. Those are a great thing to use in your introduction. We've talked about rhetorical devices, and this is a great place to use some of those rhetorical devices, like a rhetorical question, like an analogy. And you always end your introduction with your claim or your thesis. Okay. And then you have your body paragraph, and this is multiple paragraphs. A typical persuasive essay has 3 body paragraphs. Those body paragraphs are organized from weakest to strongest. So you're going to start with your weakest argument, and you're going to end with your strongest argument. And then your last paragraph in your body should be a concession or counter argument where you talk about the other side, and your rebuttal, which is why that other side is wrong. Okay. Then you have your conclusion. This should summarize your position. Remember, when you're summarizing your position, though, you are not using phrases like I believe or I think or you should. You're using words like obviously, clearly. And then finally, your conclusion should end with your call to action. This is where you are very clear what you want people to think or to do. All right, let's go into your introduction paragraph a little bit more. So you're trying to persuade people to think or do something, to believe or do something. And you need to be very clear about that. But first, get us interested in your point of view. Don't start right off with what we should be thinking or what we should be doing. First, get us interested in your topic and what you're getting us to think about. Rhetorical questions are a great way to start off your introduction. Ask us questions that aren't meant to be answered but are going to help you make your point. An antidote is a great thing to do. Give us a story. Give us that imagine the situation that will help us understand your point of view. And then, of course, give us your end your introduction paragraph with your claim. If I want to get people to donate food to the food bank, if that's what I'm trying to persuade you to do, my claim should be very clear. It should be something along the lines of, although many people give food to the food bank during the holidays, it is important that we are giving what we can all year long. Okay, so then we have your body paragraphs. You want to use a logical approach in these body paragraphs. Use facts, use reason. Give your readers a sense of legitimacy from you, okay? So you should have already gathered a whole bunch of reasons, a whole bunch of facts for your side when you were researching. Go back over those, look those over, and pick your top 3. What are your strongest 3 arguments that back up your claim? Okay, choose ones that you can defend, that you can give facts for, that you can provide examples of, that you can give your reasons. And then organize those. From your weakest to your strongest. You want to end with your strongest point. So start off with your weakest and build to your strongest point. For each point that you give, you will need to have examples, reasons, facts, and don't forget those rhetorical devices. Those rhetorical devices are going to come in really handy in these body paragraphs. All right, so for your first two body paragraphs, you can see this is a very typical expository paragraph. You start with your argument that supports your claim. Again, you start with your weakest argument and you build to your strongest argument. But you give your argument, and then you need to give a reason or a detail that supports that argument, and then you're going to flesh that out with examples and explanations and using those rhetorical devices. Then you'll give another reason or detail that supports that argument. And again, flesh that one out with examples, explanations, rhetorical devices, and then end with a conclusion. And then, so your first two body paragraphs will be that, but your last body paragraph is going to be a little bit different. Your last body paragraph, you want to start with your concession or counter argument. You want to give what the other side would argue. Tell us what the other side is going to say, because that is how you make your argument valid. If your argument is completely one-sided and you never acknowledge the other side, then your argument is far too biased to be considered valid. You've got to give the other side. So you give that concession, what the other side would argue, and then you give an explanation for their argument. And give an example or explain their view. But then this second part of this last body paragraph, you are not going to continue with their side. Instead, you're going to do your rebuttal, which hopefully is your strongest argument. But your rebuttal is why they're wrong. So here, you're going to use come back to those examples, those explanations, those rhetorical devices. Hopefully this is backing up your strongest argument and explaining why the other side is wrong. Okay? So you're ending with that strongest argument that you have. So notice it's a little bit different in this last body paragraph. You start with the other side and you end with why you're right and they're wrong. And then, so again, a concession or a counter argument is where you acknowledge the other side. Okay. Your rebuttal is where you point out why that other side is wrong. Use facts and evidence in your rebuttal. Make sure that you are not falling into those traps of name calling and those things that we've talked about before. And then your concluding paragraph, you are going to summarize your position. Now, this is your opinion piece here. This summary of your position is your opinion piece. But don't forget, you do not want to use phrases like I think or I believe or you should. Use phrases that make it sound like everybody believes the same way you do. Obviously, clearly, right? The concluding paragraph is a great place to throw in those emotional appeals. Go back to those rhetorical devices and which one can help you really get into those emotional appeals. And then end your concluding paragraph with your call to action. This is very clear what you want people to think or do, what you want them to believe or to do. Okay? So your last paragraph of your essay, your concluding paragraph, you're summarizing your argument. You are making sure that it sounds as though everyone agrees with you, and you are then ending with that call to action, which should be one sentence at the end there. Okay. This is an overview of an outline for a persuasive essay. Your introduction here has your lead and your claim. Your body paragraphs here, argument number 1 with details and reasons to support and explanation, examples, and rhetorical devices, and a conclusion. Argument number 2, again, with those reasons and details to support your argument and fleshed out with examples, explanations, and rhetorical devices, and a conclusion. And finally, your concession that is explained. Your rebuttal, hopefully, is your strongest argument and explains why the other side is wrong. Okay. And then finally, your summary, your call to action there at the bottom, which is your summary of your argument, and finally your call to action, which is your very last statement. Okay, I'm going to be attaching not only this video, but also this PowerPoint so that you can go back and look at specific slides a little more carefully, as well as you can rewatch this video as needed.